All right, good morning and welcome to the second part of today's synthesis review. And we are looking at worksheet 5 now, and the connectors we're looking at are besides, in addition to, not only, but also, and as well as, right? These are familiar connectors. We've learned them from 3 and 4. So usually what we use these connectors for to indicate that something is added onto something else. So in addition to money, he also desires fame, right? Or in addition to power, he also desires love. Okay, so it's always about adding something to something else. Okay, not only but also is the similar thing. So he not only enjoys bowling, but he also enjoys playing snooker, for example. So bowling in addition to snooker, right? So a lot of these sentences are joining two things, events, emotions, or achievements together, right? So it's plus, right? Plus, right? Okay, so let's go straight into the questions. So over here, father bought a new computer as well as a wireless printer. Okay, so he also bought can be cancelled safely because it's repetitive. The stem father bought is good enough. A second thing to note is that the connector must never be discarded, right? You cannot take away the or the. Connector always follows the subject. So father bought a new computer as well as a wireless printer is the answer to question 1. All right. Question 2, the waiter in that restaurant was efficient. He was gracious too, right? So first is efficient, then is gracious. So the waiter in the restaurant was, right? Number 1, not only. So the verb always follows the stem, right? The waiter in the restaurant was not only efficient. What was he? He was efficient, but also gracious. Right, so I can cancel he was and to because that's repetitive. So the waiter in that restaurant was not only efficient but also gracious. Right? Next. His art homework was poorly done in addition to, right? It was also, I cancel and I include in addition to being overdue. All right, so being, it was becomes being, right? All right, let's move on. Question number 4. All right, so number 1, not only she was has to change places. So not only was she touched by the plight of the tsunami victims, and remember, connector in the front, comma in the middle, comma. No, actually, wait a minute. I don't need a comma because but also is still the connector. But she also offered her services as a volunteer. Okay, so that's how we do it. Not only but also. So not only we sing, no, not only do we sing the national anthem in school every day, every school day to be precise. I keep wanting to put a comma, but it's but also, right? But we also recite the pledge, right? So but also replaces the to, so I can cancel that out. And notice that but we, but she, right? So the but actually, well, okay, don't laugh. The connected but actually pushes the pronoun, right? So it separates the pronoun from the rest of the sentence. Notice that it's also that comes after it, all right? So notice this pattern and be alert to repeat it. But she also, but we also, right? So the but and the also, they split the pronoun away from the rest of the other sentence, okay? The other parts of the sentence. Number 6. Oh, it's so long. Okay, let's try to finish this soon, okay? So Tim took part in 2 field events. Besides signing up for the marathon. So in addition to the 2 field events, he also signed up for the marathon. But notice that I cannot put besides he also signed up, so I've got to change the he also signed up into signing up, right? It's similar in a way to when we did although, in spite of, despite, right? We change this into a present participle, right? Again here, this is a good follow-up example to that. Now I can put a comma because the connector moves to the front. There's no more but also here. And be careful to not forget the movie because that's the subject. Okay, there are quite a lot of moving parts, so it's okay if you make some mistakes, all right? Just be kind to yourself and learn from your mistakes. And review this video as many times as you need until you kind of understand why I'm making these transformations. So be careful here, there's a not. Okay, so there's a negative. So not only already is negative. All right, so be very careful when there are double negatives, okay? Keep synthesis rule number 1 in mind. The meaning must not change. Okay, so not only did he, remember we changed the position of he did to did he not make his bed? But he also did not switch off the power in his room. All right. Next, smoking is disallowed on the trains. Smoking as well as eating. So smoking and eating are disallowed on the trains, or is disallowed on the trains. So we've got to think about that very carefully. should be is. Why? Because as well as functions like a positive, right? It's additional information. Number 10. So remember, as well as functions as an a positive. So smoking is the subject, Sharon is the subject. Therefore, the verb is in the singular form. Sharon as well as Tony enjoys playing Connect 4, and be careful of Connect 4. This is a proper noun, so always capitalize the first alphabet of a proper noun. Okay, so this is rather tricky. I've got to change participates to participation. Lionel's rare participation in competitions disappoint me. So Lionel's rare participation in competitions disappointed me, right? So this is quite tricky, all right? So let me explain what's going on. Lionel's rare participation comes from rarely participate, so his rare participation in competitions. So what does this do? This disappointed me, right? So Lionel's rare participation in competitions, this thing disappointed me. So I am disappointed becomes disappointed me, okay? So notice what is happening here. I switch the pronoun with the subject, right? I change the form of pity to pitiful, right? Pitiful is an adjective. And she donated all her savings to them remains the same, all right? Question 13. Had vandalized. If he had vandalized, so had vandalized in the past perfect. So I've got to change it back to did vandalize, okay? So did you vandalize, past tense, right? Simple past from past perfect. Go backward one step. The wall in the void deck. Okay, let me just deck. Okay, right? Question 14. Ali's refusal. Okay. Was disappointed becomes disappointed his friends. All right. Ali's refusal to pardon Siti for her mistake disappointed his friends. Okay, so Ali's refusal to pardon Siti for her mistake disappointed his friends. This is quite a mouthful, but follow it through step by step, slow down the video, review it again if you're not sure, ask me if you have any questions, all right? So because of his humility, oh, I'm sorry. Okay, so this is quite tricky whenever we have subjects appearing here. No, because of his humility, because this is a subordinate clause, right? Because of his humility, it can't stand by itself, this sentence. So the subject follows the main clause. Okay, there we go. Question 15. I think that's the end of it. Very good. So because of his humility, comma, right, because of connector is in front, Mr. Gopal is acknowledged by his neighbors. All right. So I hope this has been helpful in reviewing your answers. If you have any questions after going through, and you may have them because these are rather complex connectors,